Drivers tab. So this is probably the most simple tab of everything, and I think it's important though that we go through it even though it is kind of simple. First of all, this shows us the actual drivers based upon the mode that we're looking at here. So anything that applies to this now shows up here. In this case, it's my built-in audio card, and so that's just fine. We have the friendly name and the driver name, friendly name, driver name. This is the input, this is the output. And what's really cool about this is where we can come and say use friendly names to represent audio drivers. And so now I can come in here to the input and say whatever I want and call it in1, in2, right? And we're not using this driver. I don't have it selected because it's an output I'm not using, and I want all my tracks when I create them to default to this one. If I didn't have this one deselected, they would all default to it and not to this one. So I want this one to be the one that they go to. So we can call this out1, right? Okay, so that's the real name, but these are the friendly names. We could also show mono outputs if there were any, but there aren't any. So let's hit apply and now go to OK. Now go to our different views over here, console view, and let's actually kill some of these different things here so we don't see them. Now, when I am here, we can actually go down to the output, and it says out1 now, just like I named it. We can name anything we want. If you have a big interface with lots of outputs, you can name different things, specific things. Like, for instance, if you have one set of outputs that always go to your speakers, you can click those and name them speakers. If you have one set of output that's always going to a CD recorder, or if you're doing post-production stuff to a TV, or whatever, you can name each of those things a very descriptive name, and so when you're going to your outputs, you don't have to remember anything. It's like labeling your output, so that's kind of cool. Okay, the last 2 cents about the audio drivers. The first thing you need to know is that this is going to be sometimes a little bit of work to get up and running. It's going to take a little bit of trial and error depending on the cards you have. And one of the hard things about Vista is that many of the different companies haven't fully really designed their drivers to work perfectly in Vista as they did in Windows XP. That's why a number of audio professionals still use Windows XP. That being said, most of them have done well and are using different pieces of software that work really well, but it's going to take a little trial and error on your part to get it set up just perfectly. Definitely look at the forums online. Go online, see what other people are using Sonar with your interface so that you can see what kind of things they ran into, if they've had to mess with some things or make some setting differences, and that's a great way to figure out what you need to do in your setup. The good news is that once you have this set up, you really shouldn't have to change it very much. That's the really good news. The last thing I want to say is that if you are using one of these other drivers, Sonar has a great set of tools to help figure out what it's going to do or take to make it work. It'll test everything out. It won't ever let you use a driver that it doesn't consider to be stable and working. That being said, I have had some issues in this version with Pro Tools hardware. And I think it's partly the computer, partly the Pro Tools, but it's times like that you kind of wish that everyone had really jumped on board with Sonar and really developed things out. But the good news is a lot of people are promising that it's going to be well developed for the new version of Windows, which is coming out later this year. So that should be really exciting to see what that version brings. But I wouldn't jump on board right away no matter what until they get things really figured out, especially with whatever hardware you have. Make sure that the company has fully signed on and certified the audio drivers to work with it, and even see if you can't test it out someplace before jumping on board. So that's just some advice that I would give you. Be really careful with this. Once you get it set up, make sure you have documented what it is, because if you need to reinstall, you're going to want to be able to reduplicate this perfectly. So keep that in mind. Okay, let's move on to the next section.